Hey, John, check out this piece of zombie takeout. Love me!
What's up? Welcome to episode 208 of Zombie
Takeout.
the B-movie and cult movie podcast. I'm Uncle John.
And I'm Scotto.
And before we get to this week's movie, I've got a little bit of a correction from last week.
That is impossible. We could not have made a mistake.
I did. I'm normally the one who nitpicks the science in the movies, so I have to nitpick my own science for once. I referred to reptiles as a species. They're actually a class.
Oh, did the geeks give you a hard time?
No, actually didn't hear from anybody about it. I just noticed it in the edit and have been horribly embarrassed by it ever since. So I wanted to make that correction.
We should make movies for Asylum.
Wow, we've been saying that for a while.
The crocodiles or the alligators.
Nah. Anyway, on to this week's movie, which is from 2010, The Perfect Host, and of course the impromptu plot summary, sponsored by Imaginary Friends. Who says that you have to grow out of them?
And also brought to you by The Inebriator. Avoid any strenuous activity after consuming.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we have a bank robber who is apparently just fucked everything up, and despite having the perfect crime planned, has just no luck whatsoever.
Desperately needs a place to hide and patch up his foot.
He can't even get a goddamn bottle of alcohol to, keep his wound from getting infected without getting caught in the middle of a convenience store holdup. He cannot catch a break. He tries to, pull one over on a Jehovah's Witness. I believe it was a Jehovah's Witness. No, it seems like so long ago that I've seen the beginning of this. But of course he gets tripped up and she just, slams the door in his face. And then decides from seeing a postcard of the next house that he tries to sort of pull a story that he met somebody on vacation and that this person somehow, not only told him about this person that owns this house, she also told him where he lives.
Yeah.
It is such a dumb story. I'm sitting here like, why the fuck would anybody believe? It doesn't make any sense. Why would he be this gullible? And of course...
And then the rest of the movie happened.
Yeah. Pretty much, it turns out that our host probably knew exactly... Well, actually, no, they make it damn clear that he knew exactly what was going on from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Probably even recognized his face in the video. He has like this weird old technology for some reason. The security system, with like the black and white video screen on his security camera. And yeah, I'm sure he knew exactly this person was because he, robbed a bank. His picture was all over the news.
Right. And he was a career criminal anyway.
So he gets a lot more than he bargained for. You think it's going to be this indictment of the wealthy or whatnot at the beginning, when the criminal has the upper hand, and it's only a matter. And at this point, our host is pretty much playing the part of Niles Crane.
And it is played by David Hyde Pierce, who plays Niles Crane. We should point that out.
Right. He is pretty much playing the character that made him famous to a T.
And unless you've seen this movie, it's every character he's ever really played.
And, of course, that is just a smokescreen because he turns out to be one crazy motherfucker.
Literally psychotic.
Yes. There are pictures of his victims. There, of course, he easily gets the upper hand on the robber
Mm.
and binds him. And this dinner party that this guy was stupid enough to want to stay around for, uh, when he talks about a prosecuting attorney kind of showing up
Mm.
when he's running for the law.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, he's not very bright. I
Mm.
think I would get the fuck out of there
Yeah, yeah.
as soon as possible. But yeah, it is too late. He's stuck at this dinner party where nobody shows up. They're all imaginary friends of him.
Mm.
And he's carrying on this party while beating the shit out of him, bound, and I guess we could say hilarity ensues because
Yeah. This is about 3 movies in one.
yes, that's a very good way of putting it.
We covered the first one.
Yes.
We got into the beginning of the second one. We have to touch on the third one, but we really can't give too much away.
Right, because David Hyde Pierce plays about 3 different characters, would you say, in this, or 4?
3 or 4.
Yeah,
He's arguably a 4th character in the little film strip.
right.
And we've talked about how Jeffrey Combs is operatically chewing scenery in his performances. Pierce in this movie puts him to shame.
It's amazing what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
It is absolutely mesmerizing.
No one has chewed scenery like David Hyde Pierce does in this movie, ever. And it is a joy to watch.
It is. He's uh, he's Niles Crane to Hannibal Lecter
Mm-hmm.
in the same fucking film.
And then a cop with a very iffy accent.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was going for New York or Chicago there.
I don't know either. Yeah, then he goes to like an Anthony LaPaglia kind of thing.
Mhm.
And it's amazing to watch this.
And there's one right there in the middle, very brief, that I don't even want to describe. I just want to leave it there for you to see. But rolling back to the beginning, I thought the idea of an obvious, robber on the lam stopping a robbery was interesting.
Yeah.
He was only doing it so he could get the hell out of there, but, still, it was an interesting twist.
Well, it was just how much bad luck can one person have was kind of the thing, you know?
Mhm.
All he wanted to do was to get something for his foot. He was
Mhm.
going to pay for it too,
Yeah,
most
yeah.
likely.
Uh-huh.
He had no intention of like knocking over the convenience store.
Right.
And that just went to shit. The last bottle had to get dropped too.
Mhm. And then right after that, I loved how he dealt with the guy sitting on his car.
Oh yeah.
Because he just yells at him, "Get the fuck off my car." The guy starts to argue with him. He headbutts him in the nose. And just without stopping, gets in his car and drives off. And it really gave you an idea of how desperate and serious he is.
Yeah.
And how he really shouldn't be fucked with. And this scene really, or this whole intro, I'd say the first 10 minutes of the movie practically, gives you no idea what you're in for.
Well, right. It's just placing how much of a badass that our robber is.
Yeah. And I thought the Jehovah's Witness thing was a nice touch because she catches him on a couple of their specific beliefs, and it just showed that they did their homework.
Yeah. Well, and the point was that he did not.
Yeah, yeah.
That he was willing to just take chances telling a story and to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, does he get in trouble for it later.
And the thing is, John, our robber, makes some very stupid decisions. And it's kind of hard to believe that Warwick, Pierce's character, is really falling for all of this at first.
Well, right. I'm just sitting here like, wow, you got to be an idiot. I mean, nobody would just say, hey, I'm really good friends with this guy back home.
Mm-hmm.
He lives at this address and
Yeah.
stuff. Like how the fuck would he have found his house
Mm-hmm.
just from meeting someone on a vacation?
Right. And then, like I said, the rest of the movie happens.
Yeah.
And they do a great job of making Warwick sympathetic at first. You really feel,
right.
Sympathize and feel for him. And they actually turn it and make John very sympathetic.
Oh yeah, they're playing with you the entire film.
Because not only, is he in this horrible situation, but they give you this backstory on the bank robbery and what led to it. And at first and even watching it this time, and this is the second time I've seen the movie, but it's been quite a while, so I'd forgotten a lot of it. I really kind of felt that was unnecessary, all of that backstory, and even the cops trying to solve the case. But it all works together. It all comes to a head, and in about 5 left turns.
Well, I think the cops trying to solve the case is important because that is the resolution of the film essentially.
Yeah. But I forgot that, and it kind of seemed like an unnecessary storyline when I just wanted to be with John and Warwick.
Nathaniel Parker making a zombie takeout return and his American accent.
What
Which
else was he in?
I've never heard him do that before. I think the last thing we saw him in was Stardust,
Oh,
but
okay.
but he's of course best known as Inspector Lindley
Uh-huh.
on your masterpiece Mysteries.
Mhm. And I loved how they placed the first hint at what Warwick is.
Oh, the picture?
hmm Because John has him, practically at knife point, and he has basically told him, I own you for the night, you will do what I say. He sits down, he sees a picture of Warwick with his arm around nobody, takes a few more sips of wine, and that's when the twist happens.
And that picture is just so disturbing too, of
Mhm.
just the face that he's making, Warwick.
Yeah. I think at this point I want to see David Hyde Pierce play the Grinch because he can pull that face off.
Oh man, he should be the guy they got to play Hannibal.
Or the Joker.
Hmm.
I digress.
Yeah.
Warwick's turn is also brilliant because he's on this rant about how people are late to the dinner party. And it's just this slow building rant that ends with him breaking a plate just as John sees the picture. And it just gives you, like, on 3 different fronts, how this movie is not what you think it is.
It is all about like there are so many fake, you think this twist is coming, they're giving you the tell,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like oh he's gonna get the sword and come after him, but you know,
Loved that part.
you knew the sword wasn't gonna be real.
I was actually kind of surprised when he did run him through with it. But then you find out the payoff.
That was the thing. Warwick was just manipulating him
Oh, yeah, the entire time.
from beginning to end.
Mhm.
Everything. Even when he's trying to listen to the newscast about his robbery and Warwick is talking to him, Warwick knows he's trying to listen to the newscast about himself
Of course.
and is trying to distract him to piss him off even more.
Yeah.
Like you think he's just being clueless and doesn't know when to shut up.
Mhm.
But then as the movie gets on later, you realize, like, no, wait a minute. He he was goading him intentionally.
Mhm. Because he was setting him up to think he was in control,
Right.
which makes him, of course, easier to take out of control. And I loved the dinner party scene
Oh man, there's
because
so much craziness there.
they seamlessly shifted between Warwick's perspective and John's perspective.
Yeah. This room full of people versus just one dude and another dude. I mean, it was at first I was worried this was going to be too much more like a two-man play kind of thing.
Mhm.
That they just shifted to the big screen because it had that feel in the beginning.
Yeah, very much.
Like just a small studio theater production that they just managed to put on screen.
Mhm.
But yeah, once David Hyde Pierce opens up, the entire movie opens up too.
Oh, yeah. And I loved that he showed him exactly what he was going to do to him.
Oh yes.
I mean, you find that in the end, that's all part of the plan, but he pulls out this scrapbook with, time-stamped photos of, this is the last victim at midnight, this is the last victim at 3 a.m., this is the last victim at 6 a.m., and of course they're in progressively worse shape.
It's the whole like all I needed to do was tell him what I was gonna do to him.
Exactly. Now, one little nitpicky thing. What did he use to cut the rope?
The rope.
Actually, I think I figured it out, but it still doesn't quite track.
He got a shard, didn't
A
he?
shard from the plate. I just realized it. That's what it
Yeah.
was. John finds this little triangular shard from the plate that had been broken, picks it up
Yeah.
with his mouth, drops it into his lap to, hold on to it to cut the rope. Except his hands are tied behind him, and I can't figure out how he got it from his lap, between his legs to his hand. But that's just, nitpicking one little scene.
Well, I have to go back and rewatch this whole thing to see how he got the picture, but that's like a whole other story.
Yeah, how he got the Polaroid. Yeah, I was wondering
Yeah.
about that myself. But I think I remember him grabbing it when Warwick was away.
I definitely want to just go back and watch to
Oh,
see
yeah.
that scene
Hmm.
where he's showing him, he's asking him to choose between which Polaroid
Yeah, yeah.
to go into his scrapbook.
This movie is kind of like The Usual Suspects in that way. In that once you get the payoff, you have to see it again knowing the payoff to see how it's constructed.
Agreed, though. Although, you know what? I don't know if I've ever gone back over to watch Usual Suspects again, you
Oh,
know?
you need to watch it again. It's a completely different movie once you know the
Yeah.
ending. And I am not spoiling the ending. That's sacred to me.
That Kaiser Sose was Bruce Willis, right? Who was dead. I could be mixing up my
Yeah,
surprise endings. Oh, I know. Kaiser Sose was on a planet full of water, but couldn't have water touch him.
that was it. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And getting back to Perfect Day.
Damn it, because I was going to go on that Kaiser Sose was really in a modern day village.
Very nice.
No.
They really go out of their way to, seemingly make John sympathetic with this whole backstory about how he was really just helping his supposedly terminally ill wife by robbing the bank.
Right, I did leave that out of the plot summary. I probably should not have. The whole reason he was doing the robbery was in the first place because it turns out his girlfriend has some sort of weird terminal illness that's not specified.
Yeah. And they need a lot of money for surgery or something. And at the time, it seemed unnecessary to make him sympathetic because Warwick's insanity already makes him sympathetic. You start hating this guy at the beginning, and then he really becomes just as sympathetic as the supposed victim at the beginning was.
It ensures that it completes the turn, though, you know?
Yeah, yeah, true.
You could still just be like, so what? Why was he in the situation to begin with?
Right, right, right. See, to me, why he robbed the bank was unnecessary when I thought it was just going to be about the two personalities bouncing off of each other.
Yeah.
And I loved how he distracted Warwick during the chess game.
But did he really distract Warwick, or did Warwick let him win?
Well, you think he distracted him and took him, down in like 3 moves, but when you find out the ending, yeah.
And he really could have beat him too. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not unlikely either that he really did distract him
Hmm.
and
Well,
take him.
given what happens when we next see him, he didn't need to be out of the ropes
True.
to get there. So I think Warwick had a contingency plan either way.
Oh yeah. Or maybe he just knew a good hustle when he heard one.
Mhm. Because I was really surprised when he did let him go.
Well, right. What idiot doesn't just
Yeah.
get the hell out of there?
Well, to explain, they make a deal if John wins the chess game, Warwick unties him and lets him go. And John won, and you see him leaving, and then the next time you see him, he's still in custody, shall we say.
Yeah.
And a bit worse for wear.
Oh yeah.
And then we meet Pierce's third character.
Yeah, this is a tough part of the movie to go over without spoiling anything, but we will try our best.
Yeah, he's a cop, with a very iffy accent, working the case, although his partner seems to be doing most of the work.
Well, yeah, he could give a fuck less about it, really.
Hmm. Until the big reveal. And the line that really got me that I don't think I caught the previous time I'd seen this movie. When they're in the car and Warwick says there really should be more deterrence of crime. More done to
Oh,
deter.
oh yeah.
I heard that this time. It went completely over my head the last time. And it just explained everything.
It kind of does give you a snapshot into how he got the way he was.
Hmm. And why he's doing it all. And who those previous victims were.
Well, that's the big question, really, that they never answer. were those other people really victims?
Well,
Or
they don't answer that, but I don't think they were. I think they got out of it just like John did,
yeah.
and it was just done to deter them from committing further crimes.
All right.
And we're spoiling a bit there, but
Yeah.
the ride to get there is the important part. Because I don't think any of them were dead because, well, in that one scene, you see that it's not really what you think it is.
Very true. Very
And
true.
I'll couch it that way. You know what I'm talking about. So
Very well said.
that may have been the case with all of the victims. He put John in all of those positions that you saw the previous victims in.
But of course, the question is, has he been pushed beyond that now?
I think at the end, he may have been.
Right.
And I love that John had a little parting shot,
Well, yeah.
and that the apparent villain ends up almost being the hero.
That's the thing. They take turns. They start out with what is the villain and what is the hero and what are the. They flip.
Yeah.
And they flip again. I mean, it's crazy.
And the bad guy won. How
Or
often
did
do
he?
you see that? The one who was the villain at the end won. And I'll leave it there because, as you mentioned, they flip back and forth.
Right.
The one who at the end of the movie is the villain, the clear villain, is the one who wins.
You could almost even say they both did.
But the other one didn't win quite as well as he would have wanted to. He took
Well,
some
true.
damage
Of course.
in a couple of ways. But he did, achieve his more important goal.
Yeah.
So, you could arguably say he did win, but he didn't win as big as the other one, the villain, who is, just going to go on being a villain
All right.
and may have turned a corner. And I think that brings us to the end of the movie.
I think it does.
Just a couple of bits of trivia. This was photographed in 17 days
Wow.
on a budget of 300 grand.
I thought it was a little more than that. It was 300?
According to Wikipedia, or either Wikipedia or IMDb, I forget which, it was 300 grand. Wait, no, 500 grand, sorry.
500. That's what
My
I
eyes
thought.
are a little. So 500 grand, and I think most of that went to cars and possibly the house set.
Okay. Well, yeah.
I'm just judging from watching the movie. They had to buy a bunch of cars and build that beautiful house. Or find it at least and rent it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably just like some producer's house.
Yeah, true, probably.
Filmed it. My guess would be most of the money went to David Hyde Pierce.
Well, that's true too, yeah. 2010 he was David Hyde Pierce.
Nathaniel Parker.
He was well known. All right, I'm done with my notes.
Yeah, I have too.
No sequels or remakes. I hope there never is a remake because
Nah.
this one needs to stand alone, and there's no room for a sequel, really.
I mean, if you remade it, it would just have to be a very serious actor.
Yeah.
Taking just this crazy ass role.
Right, and
There's only one David Hyde Pierce.
right. All right, Underbrains.
On the brains.
I love this movie. I thought the diversions into John's backstory and the case, the cops solving the case were unnecessary until it all paid off at the end, and it all works, and I love it. But it's not quite amazing. I'm going 4.5.
I'm right there with you. There's so many films that we go over them and criticize them. My usual criticism is, oh man, the pacing was off. There was too much. They could have edited something out. Not with this one, though.
No.
There was nothing wasted. Every single scene in this film has a purpose.
Oh yeah.
There is nothing thrown away. You can't miss a single scene from it and still have the movie make sense completely because there are just so many pieces to put together. And I've been bouncing back and forth between 4.5 and 5. I think I'm going to stay with 4.5 though because I'm not sure if the ending was as satisfying as I wanted it to be.
Yeah, it's just missing something to just be perfect. I don't know what it is, but it's damn close.
But goddamn, you have to see it. The performances are fantastic,
Especially, as we've been saying, David Hyde Pierce.
and who knows? And I've got to see it again, which usually I would give a 5 to.
Hmm.
But I think if I see it a second time and still feel the same way, I could increase 4.5 though.
All right, what have we learned?
We learned when somebody who has had you bound up lets you go, you go.
Yeah. And I learned to paraphrase Bugs Bunny, monsters make the most interesting people. Bit of a double word score there.
Dinner party with the monster. Interesting people.
And until next week when we'll be reviewing Deathstalker. I have a feeling that's really going to be a letdown after this one.
Oh yeah. That's like it's nostalgia, but I remember us not even liking it back in the day.
Yeah, I don't even remember it at all, even hearing about it. Go to zombietakeout.com, check out the album art, the episode description, of course the episode itself, which you're already listening to, links to find us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and YouTube, links to subscribe via RSS and iTunes. Please leave us a rating and a review on iTunes, we'd really appreciate it. You also find the movie list, every movie we've reviewed so far, and every movie we're going to review, only up to 210, which means we gotta add some more soon. The request form, if you've got a movie you'd like to hear us review, please leave it on the request form. And of course the recommendations list. I'm so glad you agreed with me on this one, I was nervous. Because I love
solid.
it. Yeah. You can also email us, zombietakeout@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail at 414-368-ZTO1, or for the alphanumerically challenged, 414-368-9861. Of course, always remember that you'll always be calling from the middle of Milwaukee. And of course, until next time, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life, there you are.
There you are.
Nothing interesting about that.
Okay, time for the outtakes, but the only outtakes I have for this are spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled on the movie, stop here.
You could almost even say they both did.
They both did, but John didn't win. But I'll edit that.
That's tough.
He took
Well,
some
true.
damage
Of course.
in a couple of ways.
But then there's the matter of just getting out.
Yeah. Well, but he did, and I'll cut that too.